Hello, my name is Lars, and I wanted to make a video on reviewing Drawabox. So I completed Drawabox last August of 2021. I just wanted to say I'm not getting paid to do this review. I wanted to give a full honest review of the entire course. I would say that I was a bit of a completionist with it, but I mostly focused on structure rather than trying to focus on detailing and trying to get the shadow and shading stuff right. A lot of different lessons will kind of dive into that, and I just wanted to focus on kind of the structure. So so I just want to let you know, I have my website here, and I have a link to my Drawbox profile here. I'll put that in the description. I'll also put this in the description. This is just if you follow that link I mentioned, it'll take you here, and you could kind of look at the past lessons that I completed, and you could learn from it. All of the images are in imagers that I of my material and whatnot. You could look at that if you want to. I suggest that you do. So one of the first big mistakes I kind of made with all of these courses was at first not looking at other people's completed assignment work. Now, I kind of didn't know that going in. I kind of just eventually was told by one of the critiquers, I believe that was Uncomfortable. So in short, I suggest you look at mine. You may want to look at a couple others too to improve yourself. But okay, let's start at lesson 1, lines, ellipses, and boxes. Now, if you see my submission date on this, it says May 7th, 2020. Now that is just totally wrong. So this is another big mistake I made. I really started in September of 2019. And in short, I grinded until I felt confident enough to submit it for official critique. So I pretty much did these pages again and again and again. It was just not what you should do. I didn't get burned out because at the time I was really enthralled about drawing and the whole learning process and all of that. So I pushed through and did it. And when I submitted it, I was pretty, the instructor, which was actually not Uncomfortable that time, pretty much said, you're good to move on to the next lesson. So I was like, awesome. So, at that point, I decided not to keep going on with the grinding process because I read from someone else's review that you should just push forward and not get stuck in that mindset. So the next thing I started was the 250 box challenge. Now I submitted that on June 27th, 2020, and so you get a time frame. It took me a little over a month. I mean, it took a significant good chunk of time, and it was pretty much marked complete, I think either on the 27th or the 29th. The next lesson I did was, lesson 2, contour lines, texture, and construction. And I submitted that on July 19th, 2020. And my lack of interest in doing the texture exercise showed through. So, as I said before, I wanted to focus on structure and not texture and shading. And that was just my mindset going through, and it clearly showed. So if you would read my feedback here, and you go down it, Uncomfortable mentioned that I did good overall, but I really needed to just do one more. And this one took me a long time. I probably spent about an hour and a half just doing one row on this one because I wanted to make sure I did it really right. Previously, I was kind of just doing it to get it over with, which is probably not the best thing. My suggestion is when you do this, try to find something that you like or that interests you. I think this really helped build my observational skills. I mean, I'm doing this, I'm not doing texture exercises every day, but learning from observation is extremely important for whatever you want to draw, and it's it's a good fundamental that you need to learn, as painful as this is. So after I submitted that, I was marked to then go on to the next lesson, but along the way, I learned of a thing called the 25 Texture Challenge, and I was not excited to do that at all, as you can tell. So basically, someone out there said that the 25 Texture Challenge should not all be done at once. You should instead do it in smaller batches between the other lessons. So basically what I did was 5 textures between each lesson. And, you know, as you can tell, I didn't really submit that until much further down the line. But my idea was that, okay, here's something I really don't like. Well, I'm just going to, like, pace it out. And, I mean, I did it to say that I did it. And I did learn a lot from it, and I think it did help my observation skills. I suggest you do that if you want to, but just be known, I believe that's an optional challenge, so you don't have to do that. But I wanted to because I wanted to do every lesson in Drawabox and see it to completion. Okay, so after I was marked complete on lesson 2, I then moved on to lesson 3, and applying construction to plants. I finished that on August 4th, 2020, and I made a ton of mistakes here. I mean, you could read through it if you want to. I suggest that you do, and you'll just see all of the different mistakes. I remember the one big thing that I made was thinking about how the ellipses go through like various roots that you'll see on a plant, and I was not thinking about the degree of the ellipse enough, and that really showed through. At one point I also decided to add shading for one reason or another, and that just did not go well. I think I tried that on like a growing cantaloupe, or maybe it was a melon, but in short, it just did not go well. I was not thinking about the ellipses enough, and I was able to correct my mistakes down the line, and then I was, I think it was on August 20th that I was then marked to move on to lesson 4, and that's what I did. So lesson 4, applying construction to insects and arachnids. That was just a whole nother big series of me making mistakes. I don't know why I have this here twice. Possibly, I don't know what happened. I never revoked any of my, I don't know. I think I accidentally did this, and I didn't do it through official critique. I meant to do it through official critique, but there was no other option for me to kind of get rid of it, so I just then submitted it. Yeah, another big point that I want to say here is I do suggest you pay for official critique. I gave a lot of feedback to other people through, like, just to help them. I did eventually get burned out doing that, but you can learn a lot by critiquing others' work. So effectively, I suggest paying, like, it's like $5 a month for official critique, so you have a higher chance of getting critiqued. I mean, my philosophy with a lot of this is critiquing takes a lot of work. It does. It takes a lot of time. It's very time consuming. There's a lot of things to review. Getting good, honest feedback is just like, it takes time, and in short, I do believe that the critiquers, like, it's definitely worthwhile. Probably one of the best things you'll pay for. You know, it's a lot cheaper than like having to pay like for like a local school or whatnot. And the feedback is really good, and you could always refer to it again in the future. So I do suggest you do it. So in short, a lot of the mistakes I made in lesson 4 were kind of just mistakes that I made in lesson 3, but lesson 4 involves insects. So there's a lot more structure that you have to build upon. There's a lot more different forms that you're supposed to do. And in short, I didn't apply that the first time around, but further down the lesson I did, and I found like I learned a lot thinking about how things wrap around, you could say, like the structure of the insect. One big mistake I made was not storing my fine liner pens upside down. And I was just kind of like going through the entire course with dry pens, and I was like, what the heck am I doing wrong? Because it's like my pen isn't working. And eventually I learned, I don't know where I learned it from, but I think I probably went to the Discord and was asking around, and someone did reply to me saying that, hey, you should store them upside down for a better ink flow. And I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of that? Am I really that dumb? So in short, that fixed my issue. Note that it probably did take a day or two for the ink flow to be good. The fine liner pens I got through Drawabox are probably the best solution. Like I said, I'm not trying to sell you anything here, but you could buy them in bulk, and they are good for the price rather than like going to like a local like arts and crafts store and pay a lot. Like, the staplers are really expensive, and I didn't find myself having a better experience with them than the ones I got through Drawabox.com. But remember, it's a 0.5 fine liners, and somewhere on the Drawabox website, I think there's like a link to buy them, and just to give you that information. So I didn't finish lesson 4 completely until October 15th, 2020. At that point, I was then to move on to lesson 5, applying construction to animals. It was hell. Obviously, all of this information I had to apply in lesson 5. You kind of had to have a mastery of the previous lessons. Like, you don't have to Drawbox. You're always supposed to push on, try to apply the stuff you learned, and attempt the exercise and submit it to learn from your mistakes. But this was kind of my big issue. I obviously at this point I reread my critique from lesson 5, but also from lesson 4 to really see the issues that I was having. I had a bit of a struggle with pretty much like extending planes and curved box forms from like the faces of animals, which I just had a really hard time thinking of that. I can't picture stuff in my head. I don't have that ability. I believe Uncomfortable actually made a video about that at some point in time. I didn't know I had this until I started Drawabox, and it turns out that my mom actually has like the same issue that I have. My dad doesn't. He could like picture stuff in his head, but I can't. So, I mean, obviously the solution is to use reference, and I did. And I also decided to look at some animal skulls of the references that I was using. And I kind of like compared that, and I tried to like kind of, I guess you could say, guesstimate how it would look. I believe that that's kind of like the thing that really helped me here. Because obviously it's really difficult to see under like the fat and skin and fur of the different animals that you're doing. I mean, unless they're like thin or, malnourished. I mean, I hate to say that because that's horrible, but you get the point that I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to say here that having a lot of reference and perhaps also looking at the skeleton, you could guesstimate the underlying forms. So I submitted, I finished this on November 19th, 2020, and I pretty much went through revision hell. Made a lot of mistakes. You could read more about it here if you want to. And I didn't complete it until December 14th, 2020. At that point in Drawabox, I was a bit burned out because I wasn't really drawing for fun. I was kind of mostly just dedicating all my time to Drawabox. So at this point, I decided to draw for fun on the side. I got myself a small digital drawing tablet because I wanted to do that. So I think the big thing I learned here is that, here we are. I almost have been doing Drawabox for a year, well, a little over a year. And if you're not drawing for fun, there's a good chance of you getting burned out because these courses just take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I don't believe they're the only thing you should be drawing. I think you do need to balance it with fun. So at this point, December 14th, I did the 250 cylinder challenge, and I submitted that on December 28th, 2020. At this point, I had a lot of time to dedicate for it because I had PTO, and my first run on this, I messed all 250 of them up. I believe that there was a big issue that I was having with the ellipses again, thinking about them, convergence. Actually, I think my first issue was that I just did the same cylinder again and again, and I should have done more variation. And I suggest for this exercise you like get like a soup can and try to like take different perspectives, pictures of it. That could really help getting an idea of what to draw. So yeah, I suggest you do that. And I didn't, after my second iteration on doing another 250 cylinders, I didn't complete that until January 18th. I mean, I finished on the 16th, but it was marked complete on January 18th. At that point, I started lesson 6, applying construction to everyday objects. Now, this is my biggest issue that I had with Drawabox. At this point in time, you were supposed to use, you could use a pen like a ballpoint pen and ellipse guides and rollers and all of that. And I was a bit conflicted because throughout the entire course so far, there was a lot of freehanding, and I kind of like that. But the fact that I was using rollers here was to like understand how to like try to get the perspective right, try to attempt all of that. And I had a real hard time enjoying it. I felt like it was kind of just like, it didn't feel like Drawabox so much anymore. I mean, I understand the important thing was the lessons, like the material and the concepts. And obviously, like, you could attempt all of this stuff trying it freehand. Granted, it's like extremely hard because getting it right is just really difficult and it takes a lot of experience. Personally, like, I practice ellipses every day and I'm still not a pro at it. I mean, I've been doing it every day since I started Drawabox just because I found it so complex. But just be known that once you start this, there's kind of like a good amount of material you're gonna need. Like, you're gonna need like ellipse guides, and my issue with that is I felt like I could never find the right ellipse guide. So like, I you could say I kind of winged it with a lot of these ellipses, and I wasn't so happy with any of them. Like, very rarely did I think I could find an ellipse in my ellipse guide set that matched the actual ellipse in my reference image. And it was just like, okay, so like, I kind of like was a bit stupid with buying my ellipse guide, and instead of getting like a set that costs like a couple $100s, I just decided to get like a couple off Amazon. And yeah, big mistake, don't do that. I hate to say it because I know not everyone can afford a good ellipse guide or a set or whatnot, but I mean, I felt like you kind of have to do that because the ellipse guides that you would use for lesson 6 also apply for like the 25 wheel challenge and applying construction to vehicles. Like, you're just gonna need it, or else like I think for a couple of these I kind of freehanded it, and Uncomfortable like called me out on it, which isn't a bad thing. It was just like, I mean, he definitely should have. I just felt like I didn't know what else to do. I probably should have just bought a ellipse guide set. But yeah, just be known that I started lesson 6 on February 25th, 2021, and I'm sorry, I didn't start it. I started on the 18th of January and I finished it on February 25th. And effectively, it was marked complete at that point. And then the next thing I did, like, I could have done lesson, no, actually it was the 25 wheel challenge. Okay. So the 25 wheel challenge, it's awful. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was awful. I hated it. It was painful. I ran into like before I kind of had to wing the ellipses. Now I had to get them right to get the wheels right, and it was not fun. At some points with my ellipse guides, I kind of felt like I was using the same wheel again and again. Some of them I did freehand to try to get it right, and it definitely does show in my work. After doing it, it was marked complete. I believe I submitted that on May 8th. So if you think about it, my last lesson was submitted on February 25th, and the next one was on May 8th. So at this point, like, from lesson 6 to the 25 wheel challenge, it takes a significant amount of time. Like, just a lot of time to do all of these, because there's a lot of steps to do a given wheel, and you have to do 25 of them. So it's real painful. I felt like I was getting burned out, and along the way I had been doing the 25 texture challenge, so that kind of did help pace me out the entire way. But just be known, the 25 wheel challenge is just, it was not fun. I feel like I did learn a lot by observing a lot of different wheels, even though I may not have nailed the perspective of my reference images as I went along with this. I do believe I learned a lot from it, and just know that like the 25 wheel challenge is like, I mean, it's crucial for construction of vehicles, because effectively once you get to this point, for each vehicle you're going to be drawing like 4 wheels. I mean, depending on the vehicle, unless you're doing like a unicycle or a bicycle, which I don't think you can actually do that, because I think I thought I did. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent here. And I did, and it doesn't count. I don't know why I did. I think my philosophy was, man, I really hate wheels. So I'm going to do something with as few wheels as possible. So just be known, there are other vehicles that you can do that don't have wheels, like a submarine. Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. So I didn't finish the 25 wheel challenge until May 8th. At that point, I started the 100 treasure chest challenge. Now, this challenge was optional. You did not have to do it, but I wanted to see the course to completion, so I did it. It took me from May 8th to June 19th, and I learned a lot, basically with like kind of how to open the lids of various treasure chests, or just chests in general. I did make a mistake with kind of the rotation of like the hinge, kind of how it opens and kind of would look in perspective. Like kind of like some of them when you're opening them, they kind of, you know, they're going back in 3D space, so you really have to think about how that will look properly. So I do suggest you read my critique for this, because Uncomfortable gave me a really good like guide image to like show how to do the rotations better, and I do practice that every so often to learn from it. But just be known that like you don't have to do the 100 treasure chest challenge or the 25 texture challenge. They're optional. You could have just gone straight from the 25 wheel challenge to lesson 7. But so after I was done with the 100 treasure chest challenge, I was also doing the 25 texture challenge, and so basically I finished it, and I was kind of just like waiting to submit the texture challenge. So after I finished the texture, I submitted that for critique on July 4th, and it was marked as complete on July 6th. So I didn't care for the texture challenge all that much. I hated it. But I have to tell you, I hated the wheel challenge more than I like the texture challenge a lot more than I can't even say I like the wheel challenge, so I'm not going to say I liked it. So at that point, I then started working on lesson 7, and man, this one took me quite a bit of time. I had a bad time. I made a mistake with a lot of the perspective. There were a lot of other issues I made as well. You could read all about it. I probably submitted over 20 vehicles. I mean, that was because I made mistakes and I had to do a lot of revisions for it. So I first submitted it, I believe, on August 2nd, and basically, you know, I had a bunch of issues with the 3D forms conflicting. There's a lot of overlap, so I think my big struggle here was thinking about like how things are behind certain things when you can't see them. The idea was, for a given card, you collect a bunch of different perspectives of the same card, and you're trying to kind of piece it all together and draw stuff in perspective. It was extremely difficult. I mean, I probably spent a good 2 to 4 hours on each vehicle, and it was very painful. I think I did learn a lot, because obviously, like, you're applying everything here. You're basically applying boxes, curves, ellipses, and basically, like, you know, all cars kind of have like that rod connecting both wheels, so it's kind of like, you could think of it as a cylinder to a certain extent. I mean, I know it's not like a perfect cylinder, but you could think of it like that. I mean, you're applying construction, you're applying, obviously, wheels, and if you wanted to, you could apply shading and even texture. So effectively, lesson 7 puts together a lot of the stuff you learned in other lessons, but you're supposed to use a roller and like ellipse guides and all that for it, so it's kind of like a final exam. So going from that wasn't marked complete until August 14th, and after that I was felt with just so much relief that I completed the entire Drawabox curriculum. It was something that I really wanted to stick to. My previous experiences at drawing just were not good, and starting Drawabox was like the thing that I felt really helped me get started on my journey. You could look at my work, and a lot of my work, it kind of shows that like I never have done this before, I feel. I could be wrong there. Obviously, everyone's going to start from a different, a different path. So like not everything is going to be 100% comparable. Obviously, other people will probably do a lot better than me. Some people may do a lot worse, but don't let that discourage you, because what matters is what you're doing, not what others have drawn. So have the courage to see it through. So basically going from late September of 2019 all the way to August 14th of 2021, I mean, it was just a little under 2 years. I feel like that timeline could really vary for everyone. I mean, you know, it's really difficult to say that it's going to take you as long as I did, or it may even take you a little longer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, the idea is you're learning the concepts and you could apply them, not that you finished it in this period of time. Don't let that get to you. Don't let it discourage you either. Just go at your own pace, at a comfortable pace that you could do this. But just let it be known that you're going to feel uncomfortable as you're going through the course. Yeah, that's how I would say I felt. So I just wanted to say again, feel free to look at my Drawabox profile here as you go along the course. I feel like it could help you a lot. My guess is by the time I'm doing this review, which is like in June 1st, 2022, the course may change a bit, so just be known that I'm pretty sure some of this stuff can help you. You know, Drawabox is a thing that, like, I believe Uncomfortable is just always modifying and changing, and just let it be known that some things may change, but I feel like there's a lot of good information you could learn from this. But yeah, thanks for listening to my review. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. As soon as I was done with Drawabox, I switched to digital drawing. That was just a way that I wanted to go, even though I had been doing it on the side for fun. But just let it be known that, like, when I switched to digital drawing, it was a bit like drawing all over again, because different mediums have different feelings and different quirks to them. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, thanks for listening.